So I'm going to say something that sounds a lot more alarming than it is. But if you have just finished your book and you are just now thinking about what your next steps are going to be, you're kind of already behind. Now, wait a minute, Christina, because you had said that the most important part of the publishing process was finishing your book. What happened? Type of order, but I think that one of the most important steps is the most obvious step. You have to finish your book. Yes, I know I have just contradicted advice that I have often given in the past, but only on the surface. What I know about publishing, or what I believe about publishing, is that finishing the project is still the most important thing, because without that, we don't have anything to publish. Additionally, finishing the project can often be the most daunting of all the tasks that we have that come along with publishing, but it's also one of the least nebulous. It's very concrete. Typing the end is a very definite sort of thing. It's a very clear step towards your finished project, a very clear step towards completion. And I'm not sure that any of this other stuff gives quite the dopamine hit of being done, of I finished writing my book, other than maybe hitting the publish button. But I don't know. We'll see. Let's get into it. Now that I'm done defending myself, my choices for my life, I'm going to go ahead and get started and let you know that the first thing that you should do after completing your book is you should celebrate yourself. Now, I'm going to talk about this more in my good habits video, but I think it is so important to give yourself credit for having completed this thing. Most people who start writing a book never finish it. So you've just by virtue of finishing, you haven't even done anything else, and you're already winning because you did it. You wrote the freaking book. No matter how it looks right now, that we'll cover that. We'll get to that. We'll polish and we'll primp and we'll do all that other stuff. But you finished, and that is something to be proud of. Buy yourself a cupcake, have yourself a cocktail, take yourself to the movies, to the mall, have a coffee, whatever little, it doesn't have to be anything big, whatever little thing you want to do for yourself, something nice for yourself to celebrate the fact that you got this done. And I don't mean that nobody else needs to be involved. You ain't told your friends, you ain't told your family that you're writing a book. Who cares? It don't matter, because don't nobody else need to be involved. This is something that you were doing for yourself, to celebrate the fact that you did something that you set out to get done. I know you don't care about all of that. You want something practical. So we'll get to the practical stuff. You need beta readers. Ideally, this would have already happened, meaning you already know who you might ask. You already have that in mind. Maybe you've already approached these people, but you're going to need that. You don't need a large number. We don't need too many cooks in the kitchen or whatever, whatever is the saying that you grew up with, or whatever that drives that point home for you. It's still your book. It's not, it's not, sometimes books are collaborative projects. I'm assuming that this is not. I personally utilize my same betas, the same ones that I've used for 5, 6, 7 years now at this point. These are women who started out as really avid vocal readers of my work, and my relationship with them has shifted and grown into the point where these are women whose opinions I really, really trust. I am not of the opinion that harsh criticism is necessary for good writing. Not at all. Honest feedback, absolutely. But when you've poured your heart into something, the last thing you need is somebody under the guise of, well, I'm just trying to help, being mean to you. Like, that's just not, that math don't math to me. It's just unproductive. How does that lead you to wanting to do anything? My betas can tell me that they don't like a character or don't like a plot point or don't like this over here, or there's a spelling error over there, or man, there's a plot hole right there, or you said this over here, but now you're saying it's this. Which is it? They can say all of those things to me without being cruel, without trying to tear me or my work down. Our culture, for whatever reason, has propped up this idea of real talk when it's really just cruelty. And that is absolutely not something that you need when it comes to something as personal and necessary for you as your work. You don't need that energy. What you need, again, is honesty. You probably don't want to ask your friends or family members who are not even really readers like that, and especially those who don't really read romance, because they're not going to really understand it. They're not going to really understand where you're coming from. And a lot of times I'll see people say things like, well, you know, a book is a book and fiction is fiction, but it is, but it's not. You need people who are really well versed with the romance genre and who love the romance genre. And if that's not your genre, and I guess I'm assuming that I'm talking to to romance people, but whatever your genre is, you need betas who are like knee deep in that genre, because they're going to know what they're talking about. They know the conventions, they know the vibe, they know what to look for, and that's what you need from your beta readers. Now, I've come to adore my betas, but we started from a place of like a friendly neutrality almost, where like we liked each other, but they didn't like me so much that they couldn't tell me, hey sis, this doesn't work. And now we're at a point where I know if they're telling me something, that's just their honest opinion, and that's okay. But to that end, you need betas who are willing to discuss this stuff with you. You asking them questions about their feedback should definitely be fair game, but there's also no reason to take that feedback personally. It's just their opinions. Ideally, they're going to be a good representation of your target audience. So the things that don't really hit for them, they're not going to hit for your target audience either. The things that they love, your target audience is probably going to love those things too, and so on and so forth like that. So that feedback is really valuable. And so you want to make sure that you've cultivated a relationship where they can say what they feel. And it's up to you to determine what you're going to do with that feedback, whether you're going to change this or change that or not. It's your book. If you're watching this and you're looking for beta readers or interested in being a beta reader, or if you're an author looking for a critique partner, drop a comment below and let's see if we can, maybe somebody else is going to come along and, oh, you looking for a critique partner? Me too. Y'all go back and forth in the comments and then hop in the inbox on each other. If y'all are out here and you're looking for somebody, head on down to those comments and we're gonna work it out. The thing that I pointed out earlier is your betas pointing out like spelling errors and all of that for you. Now, whether or not you make that like a necessary part of your beta process, that's between you and whatever betas you choose. It's not necessary for mine, but I am so grateful that they will do that for me, because one of the next most important steps is after you've gone through that beta process and all of that, you are going to need editing. Now, I'm gonna give this caveat up front. My process personally might be a little bit skewed because I write pretty cleanly in the first place. What I send to my betas is unedited, but it's definitely legible, definitely readable, all of that. And so they're gonna find some errors, but not like an egregious amount, but it's definitely not clean. There's definitely going to be some. And so once they've sent me back, once they've pointed out those errors or whatever, and I've gone through, I've cleaned up all of the stuff that they pointed out for me. From there, I'm going to edit first. And the way I do that is just by running it through the normal Microsoft Word spell check software. Once I've done that, I run it through Pro Writing Aid, which is my particular grammar spelling editor of choice. Now, let me say here that I only follow their, I very carefully go through what their suggestions are, because a lot of the stuff that they suggest does not really fit me or my writing style. Like, there's going to be some stuff that you just need to fix. Like, if something is spelled wrong or the grammar is just incorrect and not on purpose, something like stuff like that, you need to fix it. But there's also going to be a lot of stylistic choices that you just have to be mindful of, so that you make sure that you're keeping your own flavor, your own voice in your work. Personally, I don't be caring about passive voice and too many adverbs and all that stuff. I don't care about all of that. None of that is relevant to me and the Black romance I write. So just when you're doing that, be careful. Don't let it freak you out. Don't see, well, oh my God, they said that I have so many errors like this. Like, just be mindful of it. It is not the end of the world. Then though, you're going to send it to a human editor who's going to be able to understand those nuances and do a really good job of cleaning up your work. Now, why am I doing all of this if I'm still going to be sending it to an editor? Explain that. I can definitely explain. I always recommend that you do some cleaning work of your own before you send it to an editor, so that your editor is free to focus on the big picture stuff. Your editor should not be bogged down with doubled words and basic misspellings, things like that. The little petty stuff that you can very well clear on your own. It's a better use of your editor's time, which means a better use of your money, if you send them a manuscript that is not bogged down with easily fixable stuff. You want them to be able to focus on the stuff that you wouldn't notice, but your readers definitely will. Once you have your clean manuscript back from your editor, it's time to read. You should be excited about that. You should be excited about that. I know a lot of people say that you should give it time, you should give it space, give it 2 weeks, give it a month, whatever. I've never done that. So take my advice here with a grain of salt. Take all of my advice with a grain of salt, but especially this topic, grain of salt. I never do heavy revisions. I don't believe first drafts are trash and all that other like self-deprecating type of stuff that the writers on the internet bond about. That's just not me. That's just not me. I think the story is what it is. I said what I said. I wrote what I wrote. And that's not an 8 years in kind of attitude. I've been there with it for like a while. But that might not be the case for you. Maybe you're reading it and it's not giving what you thought it would, and you need to move this over here around and you need to develop that a little more. All of that is perfectly fine. This is the time to do it, whether you're going to give it some space first or not. When you're doing that read through, this is the time to make whatever changes to polish it and make it what you really want it to be. Maybe scrapping the whole thing and starting over is your jam, or maybe you just need to clean up a few errors and you're on your way. Whichever one of those works for you, whether that's one or the other or something in between. Don't be scared to poke at stuff. Don't be scared to make adjustments and make changes so that when it's time to present this to the world, you're presenting something that you're really happy with and really proud of. Your only deadlines here are the ones that you set yourself. Speaking of deadlines, you need to set one. But before you do that, if you are finding any type of value in this video, please do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing. That helps my channel a whole lot. Anyway, though, I know it's cute to just go with the vibe, let it flow, all of that, but please give yourself some structure. Set a date that you want to release the book, even if you do not tell anybody else this date, even if it just stays in your head, but set a date and really try to meet it. This is something that I struggle with myself. I complained up and down to all my friends. I'm so tired of just running on vibes, because at some point it's like doing the work is gonna move you along. But we're gonna talk about this in the habits video too. But what I really, really wish is that I had gotten myself some project management skills early on, so that I set a habit of having a plan that I took with me into every project that I even started on. Now, about a month or two ago, I sat down and I made a plan. And my plan was beautiful. My plan was beautiful. And I know it worked because I made this plan based on things that I had saw working for me with other releases and things that I really enjoyed, things that I saw that my readers really responded to. I made my plan. This is what I'm going to do if it's a novella. This is what I'm going to do if it's a full-length novel. This is what I'm going to do if it's one of those long haul novels. That's what I call stuff over 75,000 words, baby. That's a long haul for me. But anyway, my plan is beautiful and I have not touched it. Have not touched it because I have such a problem with structure. But I'm working on it because it is necessary to me being able to meet my goals. So what I would recommend for you is looking at other book releases that you think were done really well, looking at things that readers respond to, looking at things that you really like yourself, and thinking, okay, how can I put my own spin on that? How can I develop this for my own voice and make it work for me and implement this into a plan that I'm going to create around my book release? Now, the timeline of that is, it's going to look different depending on your pace, like how fast you work, what you're comfortable with, the length of the book, all kind of different factors. But as a starting point, I would set that release date. I would choose that release date, and it needs to be, look, don't be like, yeah, I'm going to release next week, or yeah, I'm going to release in 3 days. No, give yourself at least 2 weeks. Like, if you have never thought about this before, and me saying this to you is the first time you've thought about it, that release date needs to be at least 2 weeks, probably a month out from now. Stop playing. But set that release date and get yourself actively engaged in the process. Start your social media channels if you don't already have them. Start your newsletter. Plan out, okay, on Sundays, every Sunday, I'm gonna do a sample Sunday, and then on Wednesdays, I'm gonna do a wordless Wednesday post, something that is related to my book that's coming out. Just all these different things that are like these hashtags and all these other sample Sunday, teaser Tuesday, wordless Wednesday, man crush Monday, woman crush Wednesday, all these different things. You can utilize all of that stuff to make yourself a plan for putting your book in front of potentially interested readers. And if you are writing a book with all Black main characters, specifically meaning a Black romance, you can submit that to Girl Have You Read, and we will help you promote it. There's all kind of options and resources out here. Utilize them. So let's go back to packaging real quick, because you need your book formatted and you need a book cover. If you're not a graphic designer, I'm not about to recommend that you try to become one right now. It takes proper tools, it takes skills, it takes an eye for design to create an attractive, eye-catching book cover. And if you don't have that right now for your first few titles, I am going to recommend that you utilize a graphic designer, or there are so many cover designers who offer like pre-made book covers, stuff like that. I highly suggest that you take that path. Your time is better spent elsewhere right now, but we are going to come back to that. I do have some videos planned in this series about cover design and stuff like that. But for now, your time is better spent somewhere else, like format. If you are willing to make the investment, you can use something like vellum. Now, the thing with vellum is that it costs. It costs money. And not only does it cost money, about $200, you also need, it also only works on a Mac operating system, which means that you either need a Mac or you need a Mac emulator, which is what I do, because my computer that's right back there is a Windows machine. So I use a Mac emulator. Mac and Cloud is the service that I use. I pay by the hour so that I can use Vellum, because Vellum is really, really simple. You'll import your file, add your title and copyright information. You're going to be able to choose a style for your book that just lays everything out really, really pretty. You can add like your copyright information in the front, table of contents, back matter, which includes a call to action for people to leave a review, and also where people can find you across the internet and what other books you have, meaning your backlist. But we'll come back to that later, because you are probably on the first one. After that, you're going to export that, and now you have a completed file for your book. Now, if you don't want to use Vellum, the KDP website is so chock full of resources. There is so much there, including templates that you can use for formatting and also instructions for how to format your book. It can be tedious, just honestly. That's why I use Vellum, because I don't be feeling like it. I don't be having the time. You have options. There are always so many options. Use the options, y'all. Now, what to do with it? You have a completed, edited, formatted novel. You've got a cover. You're ready to go. What next? It's time for you to make a decision about where you are going to publish your book. I don't have time to go into full detail of it in this video, but my strongest recommendation personally is that you publish exclusively through Amazon so that you can take advantage of their Kindle Unlimited program. You need readers, and Amazon has them. You can post on social media, shout about your book from the rooftops, but you need readers. What you need most starting out is eyes on your work, and you need those people who are seeing your work to be willing to take a chance on it. KU gives them that pretty risk-free. KU readers are avid readers, and they are vocal readers. They're gonna read your book, they're gonna love it, they're gonna tell a friend, they're gonna decide to subscribe to your newsletter, they're gonna follow you on social media, they're gonna retweet your stuff, share your stuff, all of that. But you have to get to them first. And I believe that the KU program is one of your best chances for getting to a lot of readers a lot faster. Now, to get started with that, you need to go to amazon.kdp.com and create an account. Once you've done everything with that, you'll see your bookshelf. That's where you'll add the book file, the cover, the description you wrote, all of that. Once you've got all that filled out, you'll hit publish, and somewhere within the next day or so, you'll have published your first book. Now, I know some of this is a little broad in some places. That's because for a lot of these topics, there's just so much to cover that we really need its own video for all of that. If you have questions about any certain thing, please leave it in a comment below so that I know what kind of content with this you guys are looking for. I know what questions I need to answer, and I can make this whole series as helpful for you guys as possible. If you liked this one, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. If you know an author who might find some of this stuff helpful, please share. Don't keep it to yourself. I'll be around with other random videos on the channel in the meantime, but I'll be back next week with a new topic here for CCJ Taught You. Bye-bye.